Hello, welcome to another month of videos. It might as well rain until September. That's what they said in that Carole King song, and it kind of did. But we're in September now and the weather's looking a little better so far, fingers crossed. Now, I started last month, beginning of August, by going to Derby to see a friend of mine who's moved out of the centre of Derby into a suburb, and he gave me a camera. It's the same camera that I'm talking to you on now. It's called the DJI Pocket 2. You'll all be familiar with it for now. It's got the all-in-one handle on the bottom, which means it has wireless communication capabilities. I'm going to use it slightly differently. First of all, I'm going to turn it on, and you can see the screen come on. This is all about the sound, because some of my audio hasn't been that great lately, but I do have some decent mics. It's just a case of how to connect them up. Now, on the all-in-one handle, or the do-it-all handle it's actually called, there's a little miniature jack socket. So I have a miniature jack lead, which has got a 3-pole miniature jack on each end. If I put one in there, and this, or one of these things, they all look the same. This one is the Rode wireless mic receiver. Rode's used a lot on the BBC, amongst other places. It's an Australian microphone company, and this is the receiver for their radio mics. It also has a little miniature jack, so I could do a few more hands at this point. I can now plug this mic receiver directly into the Pocket 2 camera. Now, I've got two of the Rode mics, RODE, in case you wondered. This one is for the left channel audio. I'm going to switch over to the audio on the other camera in a minute. And this one is for the right channel. Now, normally I have a microphone on me. You can probably see one on my shirt pocket, which is mono. So who needs more than mono with just me speaking? So these two microphones are stereo. Can we switch over to those now, please? I think we're on the other camera now, but I was having some difficulty getting the settings right. Kept going into slow motion and all sorts of things. I think we're now going 4K at full speed, hopefully. So the microphones, these two Rode microphones, should be received by the receiver on this camera in stereo. And of course my voice isn't stereo, but if I go closer to the one for the left channel, you should hear me coming out more from the left-hand side of your speaker system. And if I go near the one for the right channel, you should hear me more from that side, even though I'm still in the center of your screen. So there we are, that's a bit of fun. We'll make some use of this, I'm sure, by recording things that are stereo, trains and boats and probably not planes, mainly buses. And we are now going to move on into Liverpool. Now, I had a viewer to my YouTube channel who watched the Crosby Beach video and said, why didn't you get off at Waterloo and take a picture of the blue plaque on the wall, Marine Terrace, where the house where the captain of the Titanic lived? Well, that's a single shot, but I thought, yeah, Titanic's a good idea. It's a part of Liverpool's history. Let's head into town and go into the museums. There's so many of them, we had to find the right one where the Titanic was hiding. So from Hall Road, where the statues are, down through Brundlesands and Crosby, and this is Waterloo Station, where we need to get off to find this plaque. The captain lived on Marine Crescent, which overlooks Crescent Gardens and then the Marine Lake. Crosby Coastal Park is much bigger than the Crescent Gardens themselves and has a vast expanse of sandhills and grass and lake. And that's where all the public head to. There are refreshment facilities here, an old toilet block's been turned into a coffee shop, and it's definitely the place that the public want to go. Crescent Gardens is still a pretty attractive place to walk through, but it's now been taken over by young teenagers who appear to be doing drugs. And I know this because they offered me some. No thank you. That's our brief visit to Waterloo. We then get back on the train and head into the city. And on the way we pass the new Everton ground that's being built in the docks. You don't get such a good view from the train because of all the trees, but we may take another look at that from a different angle later on. So we're in the centre of Liverpool in the dock area with the Liver buildings that way and the Albert Dock that way, and we've come to the museum area. Well, actually there's a few museum areas, but the main ones are down here on the waterfront, and we're going to have a look at two of them today. One of them is the Maritime Museum, which is again that way. But first of all, what is this? Everything else has got a sign on it. I do not know what it is. It's made of rope and it just stands there. I'll have to look that one up, I think. Turns out if I'd looked a bit harder, I would have found the sign. It was strapped to the railings. There's a few other relics lying around here, but we head across to the Maritime Museum, where we'll find the exhibition for the Titanic. That's just a brief look around the Maritime Museum with a specific look at the Titanic, but we're going to move on now, and the view out the window shows us that we're not very far from the Museum of Liverpool, that strangely shaped building over there, and with the Liver buildings in the background. I've used the museum's own picture on the wall to show you where we're going. The museum has got the locomotive The Lion, which was featured in the 1953 film The Titfield Thunderbolt, and appropriately overhead from there is the Liverpool Overhead Railway, which was a thing when I first moved to Liverpool at the age of 10, even though it had just shut down then. It was quite a thing. It was called the Docker's Umbrella. I did a feature on the Liverpool Overhead Railway a few years ago, but I didn't mention, because I didn't know at the time, that the railway had the first electric automatic signalling system ever used on a railway. There's a lot more to see in the Museum of Liverpool, well worth paying a visit. I'll mention just a couple more things pertinent to the area. Mersey Beat, of course, and particularly the Beatles, they're well covered here, and there's some classic album covers from people like Scylla. And of course the Grand National is another well-known event from this area, taking place at Aintree, which is just up the railway line from Liverpool Central. There are some good views out from this museum too, across the river and down onto the docks below. Let's have a quick look round at ground level before we head back across to the Wirral. Using a rather ancient map to show the journey we're about to make and the choices that we now have. First, let me show you that we are starting to get some new trains over on the Wirral. This is the West Kirby line. I use this line to get down to Leasowe and catch a bus home from there. And this is one of the first trains I've seen on the Wirral line. However, today we decided to use the Mersey ferries, the famous ferry across the Mersey, because from the river we get another view of the new Everton football ground being built. And so we say goodbye to the Liverpool waterfront and its museums, and we'll be back next week with more of our journeys.